Hi, today I would like to read from this book of the Aztec myths. And the story that I would like to read is called The Virgin of Guadalupe. And apparently it's a very well known story with Catholics. I'm personally not a Catholic, not even a Christian, but when I read the story, it touched me very deeply because it tells about times where there was less pollution, physical pollution, chemical pollution, emotional pollution, I think. And this made the veil between the physical reality and non-physical reality thinner. The Virgin of Guadalupe by Luis Lasso de la Vega, circa 1649, so this is 15th century. 10 years after the city of Mexico had been conquered and the shields and arrows had been laid aside, and all towns were at peace, faith and the knowledge of life-giver, the true Spirit God, were beginning to catch fire and shine. It was early December in the year 1531, and there was a poor man named Juan Diego who lived some distance away in Cuautitlan. But at that time everyone still belonged to the church in Tlatelolco, and so he was coming in to have religious instruction and to run some errands very early one Saturday morning. As he approached the hill called Tepeyacac, just at dawn, he heard music, as if beautiful birds of different kinds were singing on top of the hill, and their throats rang out as though mountains were echoing them, singing even more beautifully than bellbirds or trogons. Am I worthy of hearing this? He wondered. Is this a dream? Am I sleepwalking? Our ancestors used to speak of a flower land in the sky. Am I there? As he gazed eastward towards the hilltop, listening to the precious sky music, the singing became suddenly quieter, and he heard a voice calling, "Juanito, Juan Diego." Filled with joy, but a little stunned, he dared to climb the hill, and when he reached the top, he saw a lady calling him to come closer. She was wonderfully beautiful, and her dress was glowing like the sun. Her radiance even pierced the rock she stood on, so that it seemed as bright as a jade stone bracelet, and there was rainbow shine all over the ground. As he bowed before her, he heard her lovely voice saying, "Juanito, my child, where are you going?" "O lady, O virgin," he answered, "I'm on my way to your house in Mexico, Tlatelolco. The priests are teaching us about religion. They speak for the Master, our Lord." She said, "Listen carefully, my child. I am the Virgin, Saint Mary, Mother of the True Spirit, Life-Giver, Creator, Sky Owner, Earth Owner. I want a church to be built for me, and in this church I will give all my love, all my help, and all my protection. Go to the bishop's palace in Mexico and tell him I have sent you to ask that my church be built on the plain beneath this hill. Child, you have heard my breath and word. Now go." Arriving in Mexico, he went straight to the palace of the bishop, who was Don Fray Juan de Zumaranga of the Order of St. Francis. After pleading with the bishop's servants, he was allowed to enter, and when he went in, he made a low bow and explained the message he had been given by the Sky Lady. He also described everything he had seen and heard. But when he had finished, the bishop did not seem convinced. He said, "My son, you must come some other time, and I will listen to you once more and consider it all over again." And so his errand was not successful, and he came away sad. On the way home, as he passed the hilltop, he found the Sky Lady waiting for him. "O Virgin," he said, "I did as you asked, and the bishop was kind to me. But the way he answered, I knew that his heart was not touched. I could tell he thought the church was my own idea, not yours. I beg you to send one of the nobles, someone important who will be believed. I am only a poor man, and I don't know how to act in the presence of a bishop. Please pardon me for troubling you. I'm afraid I have made you angry." "My child," said the lady, "you must understand that there are many people who could be my messengers, but you are the one I have chosen, and through you my command will be carried out. Go back to the bishop and tell him again that the one who sends you is the Virgin Saint Mary, Mother of the Spirit God." The next day, Sunday, Juan Diego left home early and came straight to Tlatelolco for church services. About 10 o'clock, when Mass was over and the head count had been completed, he went to the bishop's and again, with great difficulty, managed to see him. This time the bishop said, "It is not enough that you bring me your word. You must show me a sign, so I know that the Sky Lady sends you." And when he heard this, Juan Diego said, "Master, you will have a sign. I will ask her for it." Then the bishop sent him on his way, and when he had gone, he called in a few of other people who lived in his house and told them to follow the poor man and find out where he went and who he talked to. Well then, so it was done. Juan Diego took to the road, but when he passed through the ravine near Tepeyacac, they lost him and were unable to catch sight of him again. And when they returned to the bishop, they told him that the man was deceiving him, that he had simply dreamed up all the things he had said, and that they would catch him and punish him the next time he came. "Never again will he stand people on their heads," they say. The next day, Monday, when Juan Diego was to have returned with a sign from the lady so that he would be believed, he could not go, because when he had come home the night before, he had found his uncle, Juan Bernardino, sick to death with a plague. Instead, he went to get a doctor, but it was too late, and that night his uncle begged him to go to Tlatelolco in the morning and bring home a priest to confess him, because he knew he could not be healed. On Tuesday very early, Juan Diego left for Tlatelolco to call the priest. When he got to Tepeyacac, he took a different road and passed on the east side of the hill, thinking the lady would not see him. "I will find her later," he thought. "First I must call the priest for my poor uncle." But the lady was there, and she said, "My child, do not be afraid of the plague. Are you not in my lap and in my power? Your uncle will live. I have cured him already." At this he was greatly comforted, and his mind was satisfied. Then he begged her to send him back to the bishop with proof, a sign, so that he would be believed. "Climb to the top of the hill," she said. "There you will find flowers. Cut them and bring them to me." When he reached the hilltop, he was amazed to find beautiful Spanish roses blooming out of season at a time when the frost is harsh. They were fragrant and covered with night dew that seemed like pearls. He began to cut them, then gathered them all, carrying them in a fold of his tilma. When the Sky Lady saw them, she took them in her arms, then put them back in the tilma. "These flowers will be the sign," she said. "You must take them to the bishop. Tell him to see to it that my church is built." As he traveled on to Mexico, he was happy, knowing that all would be well. Carefully he held up his tilma in front of him, protecting the flowers and enjoying their fragrance. When he got to the bishop's palace, he was met by the steward and a few other servants, but they would not let him in. Perhaps they recognized him as the one who was always troublesome, or perhaps the others had told them that he had lost them at the ravine. For a long time he stood there bowed, waiting to be called, and as if holding something in his tilma. When they touched him to see what was there, he knew he could not hold them back, or else they would push him and hurt him, perhaps kill him. So he showed them the flowers, just a little, and then they saw that they were roses blooming out of season. They were amazed and tried to seize them and pull them out. 3 times they tried, but each time the flowers became no longer real and appeared only as a brocade or a painting on the surface of the tilma. Then they went and told the bishop what they had seen, and the bishop realized that the sign had arrived that would touch his heart. He gave the order for Juan Diego to enter, and when he came in, he bowed low, just as he had done before. Then he told everything he had seen and heard, how he had asked the Sky Lady for a sign, and how she had given it to him so that he would be believed and the church he desired would be built. "Here it is, receive it," he said, and he opened the white tilma in which he had folded the flowers. As the roses came scattering out, an image of the Virgin appeared on the tilma, just as it is seen today where it is kept in her blessed church at Tepeyac called Guadalupe. When the bishop and all the others saw the image, they fell to their knees and worshipped it. Gazing at it, they were filled with remorse. It was as though their hearts and thoughts rose upward. Weeping and praying, the bishop begged forgiveness for not carrying out the Sky Lady's wish. Then he removed the tilma, which had been tied around Juan Diego's shoulders, and went and placed it in his oratory. Juan Diego spent all day at the bishop's palace, and the next day the bishop said to him, "Now you must show me where the Sky Lady wants her church." He sent out a call for workers to come build it, and Juan Diego showed them the spot. Then he asked permission to go home to his uncle Juan Bernardino, who had been sick with the plague. But they would not allow him to go alone, and went with him all the way. When they got there, they saw that the uncle was well, not sick at all. And the uncle was amazed to see his nephew accompanied by these people. He asked him why he was being honored in this way, and Juan Diego told him that when he had left to call the priest, he had seen the Sky Lady at Tepeyac. She had sent him to Mexico to ask the bishop to build her a house, and had told him not to worry about his uncle, because he was cured already. Then his uncle told him that it was true, that he had seen her just at that time, and she had made him well. Also she had told him how Juan Diego had gone to ask the bishop to build her a temple, and she had told him to go tell the bishop how he, Juan Bernardino, had been cured, and to tell him to give the new church a name. Let it be called Saint Mary of Guadalupe, she said. So Juan Bernardino was brought before the bishop to speak to him and testify. Then he and his nephew, Juan Diego, were given a place to live at the bishop's house until the temple of the Royal Lady could be built at Tepeyac. When it was finished, the bishop took the blessed image that he had been keeping in his oratory and placed it in the great church where all the people could worship it. The whole city traveled to see it, and they were amazed. They knew it could never have been painted by human hands. They knew it had been created by a miracle. This concludes the story of Juan Diego, a simple, poor man who was able to see the Virgin and who she wanted to carry his message, not the bishop, not somebody noble or important in the society, but she chose a simple poor man to deliver her message. So that's an interesting choice to ponder. Thank you for listening.